Welcome to our camp with another recap. Today, I'm going to tell you the story of a movie about a boy who spends most of his life in his uncle's bar, and by reading books that were only placed there for decoration, he grows up to become a great writer. If you enjoy it, please don't forget to like and subscribe. The story begins when JR's mother couldn't pay the rent, and they had no choice but to move into his grandfather's house for a while. The house was very old, just like the people in it, but unlike his mother, JR was happy to be there. Having the whole family gathered under one roof made up, at least a little, for the absence of his father. JR adored his Uncle Charlie and hung on his every word. His mother, however, was miserable with the situation, though she had no other option. JR constantly asked about his father, and the only thing he knew was that his dad worked in radio. Whenever his father's voice came on air, his mother would quickly switch the radio off.
Love will find a way, WNBC.
Sometimes JR would secretly listen to his father's voice alone in his room. One day, while Charlie was resting and JR was sitting beside him, the phone rang. JR picked it up, and to his shock, it was his father. His dad wanted to see him and take him to a football game. Charlie gave JR permission to go. JR was so excited that he got ready 2 hours early and sat waiting at the door. Hours passed, but his father never showed. Later, JR learned that his dad had been arrested just hours earlier that same day. After that, Charlie decided he would be the one to teach JR everything a man ought to know.
Male sciences.
From then on, JR spent much of his time in Charlie's bar. Charlie gave him one of Dickens's books, without realizing it would change JR's life forever. The closer JR and Charlie grew, the more his mother and grandfather resented each other. To annoy his daughter, the grandfather would constantly fart around the house and deny it, which only made their fights worse.
I didn't do that.
One day, a fancy car pulled up outside, and JR's father walked in. The moment Charlie saw him, he demanded the $30 he had lent him years ago.
Hey, Charlie. How's it hanging?
Where's my $30?
It's up my ass.
JR, say hi to your father.
JR went for a drive with his dad, talking about his mother, but he had to return quickly before she came home and caused a scene. Charlie asked again for his money, but the only thing he got was a solid punch in the face from JR's father.
Try to be a fucking tough guy.
The next day, JR had to take Charlie to school with him to meet the counselor. The school psychologist believed that because the name JR wasn't short for anything, it meant he lacked an identity. But Charlie, who had never even gone to college, refused to let a cheap psychologist strip JR of his sense of self. JR felt proud and relieved that his uncle defended him. After reading the book Charlie had given him, JR began writing. His family read his work. His mother loved it.
It's great, JR.
But JR only cared about Charlie's opinion. Charlie told him that a real writer needed to have something inside of him, something that, if you didn't have it from the start, you could never gain. After a long pause, Charlie said,
And I say you got it.
Oh, I knew it.
Hearing that filled JR with joy. Charlie then showed him a closet full of books, telling him he had to read them all. At school, a teacher asked the students to bring their fathers to breakfast the next day. Since JR didn't have a father around, his grandfather decided to go with him. He put on his best suit, reminisced about the old days, and proudly accompanied JR to school. Everything went well, but when they returned home, the grandfather revealed to JR that his mother had cancer and needed surgery. To take his mind off his mother's illness, JR buried himself in writing. A few days later, his mother returned looking exhausted. When Charlie was trying to solve puzzles in a magazine, he barely knew any of the answers. But JR, drawing on what he had read, solved them effortlessly. Everyone was amazed by his intelligence. Years passed. For his mother's sake, JR applied to law school. He was so nervous that when they mailed the application, his hands trembled. A few days later, the acceptance letter arrived, but JR was too anxious to open it. In the end, Charlie opened it for him. JR had been accepted and even awarded a proper scholarship. For the first time in years, his mother was genuinely happy. At law school, JR and his roommate Wesley quickly became best friends. In one class, JR fell in love with a girl named Sydney that he thought she was stunning. Wesley told him she was dating one of the rich kids at school, so JR figured he didn't stand a chance. But a few weeks later at a party, JR and Wesley ran into Sydney again. She told them she had broken up with her boyfriend. JR seized the chance and walked her home. On the way, JR talked about his dream of becoming a writer, and soon the conversation turned to his father. When they reached her house, Sydney told him she wanted to see him again. By Christmas, JR decided to spend the holiday with Sydney. She picked him up and took him to her parents' home. Their relationship moved quickly and they spent Christmas night together. The next morning, JR felt blissfully happy until Sydney told him she was seeing someone else and asked him to leave. JR walked out, but the way Sydney abandoned him would haunt him forever. He spent the next 2 years trying to become someone Sydney would want again. He carried his typewriter everywhere and devoted all his time to writing. After the holidays, on the train, JR runs into the priest he had also seen on his very first day at college. The priest quickly notices something is weighing on JR's mind and asks what's wrong. JR says,
"Just a poor boy who wants a rich girl."
The priest replies,
"If she loved you, she'd take you poor."
JR goes back to Sydney's house and spends the night there. He thinks his efforts have finally paid off and that Sydney has feelings for him. But once again, he becomes her doll.
I'm seeing someone.
You gotta be kidding me.
This is the second time. Eventually, JR graduates. His mother is even happier than he is about it. After the ceremony, he tells her he doesn't want to continue with law, and he has decided to become a writer. Wesley and he celebrate their graduation at Charlie's bar. The next morning, JR meets Sydney at a cafe. He still hopes to fix things between them, but Sydney tells him she doesn't want anything more than friendship. That night, JR gets drunk at the bar, and Charlie tries to help. He tells him the only way Sydney won't be able to turn him down anymore is if he has a serious, respectable job. The next morning, JR goes to the office of the New York Times to apply as a writer. Though he doesn't have much written work, the editor quickly recognizes his talent and hires him. A few weeks later, JR manages to get his first piece published in the paper. JR believes he's finally found something that might win Sydney back. But at a restaurant, Wesley tells him that Sydney is getting married in just a few days. JR is devastated. From then on, he drinks every night after work until one evening he dreams of his childhood self. He remembers that he had always wanted to be a writer, but now it feels as if he's lost his way. At work, he sees a photo of Sydney and her husband that's about to be printed in the paper. JR asks to be transferred to reporting, but his editor turns him down, saying he's still too young and inexperienced. JR thinks maybe seeing his father might help. He goes to find him and learns that his father hasn't worked in radio for years and is wasting his life away. His father takes him to the home of his new lover, Kathy. They live in an old house. JR helps Kathy's daughter finish a puzzle, but he quickly notices the girl is terrified of his father. She leaves the table and retreats to her room. Right then, when dinner still isn't ready, JR's father beats Kathy. JR shouts at him. His father snaps back that JR is worthless, that he'll never be able to stand up to him, and then storms into his room.
Where's your phone?
JR calls the police and has his father arrested. From there, he heads straight to the bar. Afterward, he decides to resign from his job and move to Manhattan to devote himself fully to writing. He's even packed his things. When Charlie sees how determined JR is, he hands him the keys to his car. With only a car, a little money in his wallet, and a box of personal belongings, JR feels for the first time in his life truly free, a freedom he has never known before. And he's certain that he is going to become a great writer. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, you know what to do.